Now I walk in here, it'll be dinner time, so this will take away my entire appetite. That's better.
Are we playing a video?
Yeah.
No.
Put it there. And you and I are no longer on speaking terms.
He'll talk to me. I got his airline ticket, so he will talk to me.
I never would have thought there were so many people with nothing else to do on a Saturday afternoon. We'll see if we can kill it together. My name is Stan Lee, and I have absolutely no idea what to say to you. And if I had any brains, I would have prepared a speech that would have been clever as hell, and you'd have said, man, that is a clever guy. Instead of standing here, groping, and grasping, and stumbling. So maybe the easiest thing to do would be to ask if anybody has any questions. Now, if nobody has a question, you're going to see a grown man shrivel up. But I have to preface the questions with this. Even though I look like probably one of the most perfect human beings you've ever seen,
Very perfect.
my hearing is not what it used to be. So unless you speak loud and clear and treat every word like a polished jewel, I won't know what the hell you're saying. That's okay, because he translates for me. So now, if anybody is injudicious enough to throw a question at me, I will do my best to find some kind of a phony answer. Yes, right over
I
there.
have a question. What was your boss like?
Can't hear a thing.
What was your boss like?
My boss, B-O-S-S?
Yes, how's the wife?
Oh, my wife.
I'm talking about back when you started out.
The Little Humors did. It's your boss, the one that got you publishing.
She did get me into it. What happened was, I had been working in comics for about 20 years, or whatever, I don't remember how many years. I'm no good at higher mathematics. And I wanted to quit, because I was working for a publisher who had absolutely no respect for the readers. He felt they were all very young children or moronic adults. And he didn't want too much dialogue. He didn't want me to pay attention to characterization or anything. Just throw in a lot of action. All they wanted are a lot of fight scenes. Well, I had to make a living, so I did that for 20 years. And finally, I figured there must be more to life than this, so I wanted to quit. So Joni, that's my wife, Joni said to me, well, look, why don't you do one book the way you like to do it? The worst that'll happen, he'll fire you, but you want to quit anyway, so what's the difference? So that's when I did the Fantastic Four. I always used to figure, see, I didn't give them costumes or secret identities. I always used to figure if I had a superpower, which is not to say that I don't. You wouldn't know this to look at me, but I'm a little bit of a show-off. No, I would be such a, if I had a superpower, I'd want everybody to know it. Hey, look at me, I got a superpower, I'm better than you are. I wouldn't want to hide my identity, wear a mask, my God. So I always thought that's kind of stupid. Then, the other thing that always bothered me was teenage sidekicks. If I were a superhero, not to say that I'm not, the last thing I would want to do would be to wander around town with some teenager. At the very least, people would talk. I decided one of the members of the Fantastic Four would be a teenager. That was Johnny Storm, the Human Torch at the time, but I made him a member of the team, and he was the brother of the girl, and he wasn't just a sidekick. And then I figured, what's wrong with that heroine knowing who the hero is? So I had Sue Storm. She knew Mr. Fantastic, as he modestly called himself, was Mr. Fantastic, and they were engaged. Why not? And then my favorite character, I figured I want to get a guy who's ugly is sin, but you're gonna love him. And that, of course, was the thing, whom only a mother could love. And, so we did the Fantastic Four. Thank God it sold well and I wasn't fired. Although maybe it would have been better if I was fired because I'm so incredibly clever. I might have found another line of work where I'd have been much more successful. But now we'll never know. And did I answer the, I don't remember, what was the question? You know, sometimes I ramble. When you find me doing that too much, just stop me. Just say, hey, you're rambling. And we'll go on to the next.
The question was, what did you do?
I'm just testing.
How was your boss, the one that hired you? Your,
Oh, she's the one that got me to do the Fantastic Four, in a sense. And how is she now? She's smart enough not to come to these conventions and knock herself out the way I do. She's probably home, relaxing, watching television, probably having her own yogurt freeze there. In fact, she's smarter than I am. So anyway, she's wonderful, by the way, if you want to know. She's my favorite wife. Actually, my only wife.
no, it's funny on that part is because if you go to her house, his house, there's photos of
It's
her
really
everywhere.
her house.
There's photos of her everywhere. But the thing about it is that she, as women, they like to wear different hair colors. So if you look at it, you always see, hey, a redhead, a blonde, a brunette, something else. It's all her, so he actually has multiple wives.
She was, when I married her, she was a model and an actress and stuff. And she loved fiddling with herself. I'd come home one night, she'd be like, you know, Max said, a redhead. I'd wake up the next morning, she's a blonde. I think it was the same girl. I hope it was. No, that's Joni, and I'm really far more interesting, if you like the joke. But that isn't true. She's much more interesting than I am. So I'm glad she's not here, or nobody would pay any attention to me.
Next question right there.
Do you have any tips for someone who's just starting to try and make their own comics?
Do I have any tips? See, you think I'm deaf. I heard it. Put away from me. Do I have any tips from for someone who's trying to make his own comic? Yeah, make a good one. I don't know. That is such a broad question.
Tips for like.
Go ahead. There's more to it. We're going to get the details now.
Tips for getting published for the first time. How you go about getting out there, getting exposed.
How do you,
people to read.
You mean if you've got something published, how do you get it exposed, or how do you get it published?
Both.
Both. It's probably the toughest thing in the world. It's expensive to do a comic book. Just the printing of the book costs many thousands of dollars. You do it in color, it costs more money. Then you have to have a distributor, somebody who's going to send it around to the different stores or whatever. Of course, now you have the internet. Now everything is changing. You can do a comic book and have your own website, and people could read the comic book on your website, then you could sell it if you want, whatever. But the problem there is, how do you get people to go to your website? Which is just as difficult as how do you publish your own comic book. And if you're just talking about publishing it as a book, though, there's so much you need. You need a good artist, you need a good writer, you need a letterer, you need a colorist, you need a good story. It's got to be different enough from everything that's being published, or why would they read yours than by the ones they already know? It is incredibly difficult. However, if you have a great idea, and you find an artist who's really, or maybe you're the artist, are you an artist?
I'm a writer.
I somehow figured you were the writer. You've got to find an artist who's really good, who likes your idea and wants to draw it. And then what you do is you make up maybe 6 or 10 sample pages, and they should look sensational. And again, they've got to look at least as good as what's out there, or who care about it. So then you could take them to a publisher and see if the publisher wants to publish it and give you a piece of it because it's your idea. Or you can try to raise the money among your family and friends and whatever and publish your own magazine. But probably the easiest thing would be the internet. If you could find a way to get it out there, Facebook or whatever, where people will see it and hope that they'll react to it, and there you go. But it's not easy. I mean, there are no shortcuts to doing your own comic book. And that was the most depressing answer. Sorry about that. You want to pick a hand? See, I want him to pick the hands, and nobody will get mad at me. And why didn't he pick me? Get mad at him.